You've never seen a Saw movie before?
Nope.
Man, every time we like start this podcast, it's just like a growing list of what hasn't Thought like seen before.
Sure.
By the way, we are recording.
Oh yeah,
As you can hear the Thana go munch, munch, munch,
dude,
munch.
bugles are so fucking delicious.
Bugles are delicious. You know what I do? I take them and then I fill them with hot sauce and then I eat them.
Oh, that's a
Ooh,
strategy.
it's so good.
The other strategy is with Pringles, and it's not as creative. But instead of just taking one at a time, you take like four.
That's a strategy now.
It's a strategy.
I love it. I love to hear it. Anyway, man, it's been so long. You know how long it's been since we recorded?
It's been since fucking Blue Beetle. I
The
know that.
last time we recorded, we also had like a long gap, and it's
Yeah.
when the actors went on strike.
Ooh.
It's been so long since we recorded, and now the writers
The writers are
almost
back.
not on strike.
Yeah.
It's been
We
a
were
hot minute.
we were just trying not to cross the picket line, is what we were doing.
Yeah, solidarity.
Yep.
It wasn't the fact that we've been busy as fuck,
Nope.
and the last time we were gonna record, a
Nope.
big accident happened. It wasn't that at all.
Nope. Wasn't that at all.
Nope.
Wasn't that at all.
Anyway, we're here to talk about, funny enough, the third movie in a series that Pano also hasn't seen.
I'm very excited to talk about these two movies that we're talking about today because they're kind of like a little outside our normal wheelhouse. These are genres we don't get to cover as much as other genres.
I guess that's fair, but it's also because like we haven't had a good comedy in a minute.
Yep.
And also
Yep.
like I feel like besides the like Glass Onion or Knives Out movies, like they don't really make blockbuster
A lot of mysteries.
whodunits.
Yep.
Like I think the most mystery you get now is in like a horror movie, which again, this kind of falls in that. But like, there's really not like mystery shit that's like blockbuster.
Dude, what if they turned every Hardy Boys book into a movie?
You know, how many Hardy books are there?
Like 50?
Honestly, I feel like that would be more. I would jive with that for like a series.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if you give me a Nancy Drew series, or you give me like these Scooby Doo esque bullshit,
Yep.
like I would eat that up. So speaking of which, we're talking
Like Bugles.
like Bugles. We're talking about A Hunting in Venice today, which is the third movie based on the Agatha Christie novels by Kenneth Branagh.
And I have to give my disclaimer. Anytime Agatha Christie comes up, I ate at the restaurant, which was in the building where she wrote Murder on the Orient Express, and it was the worst food I had in that entire trip to Turkey. It was a glorified Hot Pocket with mozzarella and pepperoni on the inside.
That sounds disgusting.
Bad. Anyway.
Yeah. So, like, with that aside, what are your thoughts on Agatha Christie books?
Never read any.
Oh, okay, good. I'm not the only uncultured one here.
Never read any.
Okay, good. Because like, people sometimes assume that just because I'm a teacher, like I'm well read, and that is a fucking lie. Like I might read some comic books, I might read some YA stuff, but like I don't really read for fun.
Well, that and also like when you like, I would have a worse excuse than you, but like.
Because you're an actual English teacher.
The thing is, like when you start getting on like at our age, when you were put on like the honors track or whatever, like Agatha Christie shit would have been considered not literary merit enough.
Really?
Yeah.
I think they're fun enough. Like I mean, the stories are fun, right? I've never read any, but the concepts are fun.
Would have been considered, right? Now philosophy.
But the fucking Crucible is. Like maybe not like
Hey,
honors, but it's still high school.
Don't fucking shit on the Crucible.
I love. It's bad, but like I'm just
we
saying,
should review the Crucible.
The one with Winona Ryder and God, what's the guy's name in the movie?
Daniel Day-Lewis, my guy.
Daniel Day-Lewis, yeah.
Yeah.
God damn.
We should. It's October. We have to fucking do the Crucible. It's so good.
There's so many. There's so many other movies I would much rather do in the spooky season than the Crucible, but maybe we'll do a double feature.
Yep.
But anyway, we're talking about A Hunting in Venice, which adapts the book. I believe it's called Halloween Night.
Something like that.
Something like that, right? And from what I've heard, like around is that this is one of her like least.
Least known ones.
Yeah, so the fact that it's the third one, because I had heard of Murder in the Orient Express,
Yep.
I'd heard about A Death on the Nile, but I had never heard of this. And again, as someone who's never really read any of her things, I have zero context for how popular any of
These
these
are
stories
not.
are. Um, the fact that Kenneth Branagh chose to do this one, I think, is kind of interesting.
Yes.
If there's a lot more well-known ones that he chooses to go with a more obscure one, and I think I still have a lot of fun with it, then hey man, give him more money and let him do more things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think at some point we need to talk about the marketing for this movie. Not that other people
Yeah.
haven't so far, but it's a joy.
Yeah, so like the synopsis for this is basically like we have our boy Hercule Poirot, who retires and he's living, like in Venice,
Yep.
doing, nothing fancy.
Yep.
He gets, a summoned from Tina Fey, and she's like, "Hey, let's go hang out. Let's go to a party. There's a seance. What could possibly go wrong?"
Yep.
And he's like, "All right." Um, I don't know that I love the idea that in his third movie, and he's already like, "I want to retire."
So I like that less because I think James Bond ruined that trope for me.
Really?
Because if you look at the Daniel Craig James Bonds, how many of them have like a fucking retirement arc in them?
Oh, most of them.
Yeah.
I'm
And I think that's
pretty sure in Quantum of Solace, he's like already kind of retiring because Vesper died.
yeah,
And then
he's glum.
yeah, so he's essentially checked out. In
In
Skyfall,
Skyfall.
he gets shot and he's out.
He's retired at Skyfall, yep.
Yep.
And then in
Spectre,
Spectre,
he's out living with the honey. Or he meets her and
he meets the honey.
he meets the honey.
But then in the newest one, I forget what it's called.
Uh, No Time to Die.
No Time to Die, he's also retired.
He's also retired.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
It's too much retirement.
It's too, and I know Daniel Craig wanted to retire, but damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that I do enjoy about these movies, though, is that, like the cast is always stacked.
Oh, for sure.
So like the first movie had like Daisy Ridley,
Yeah.
Maggie Smith. Is that her name?
Maggie Smith.
Maggie Smith. Fucking Johnny Depp
Oh,
was like
yeah.
a big name in that.
Yeah.
People were big upsets when he was cast in that because that was around the time that like rumblings started to happen.
The beginning of all that went down.
Yeah. Which is funny and like funny that that's like 2016 ish, 2017 maybe. Um, and then like we had the Josh Gad was in there too. He was big from Frozen at the time. The last one had Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot? Gadot, right? Armie Hammer, Leslie Rose.
Yeah.
And then in this movie,
Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh,
Coming off a good 2022.
Tina Fey,
Yeah.
Jamie Dornan, who's big. Is it offensive to say that his big climb to fame is 50 Shades? I know people were really excited about Kelly Riley being in this movie. I don't really have a lot of context for her. I know she's in like some popular series, I think, or no, she's a singer, isn't she?
I don't know. I don't have context
Something
for
like
either.
that.
Yeah.
But this movie, before we get into like the details of what's going on, I think it is smart to talk about like the marketing for this. Because the marketing for this is like this is a horror. Like you watch the first trailer and it
Yeah.
starts like the trailer for like a solid horror movie.
Yeah.
And then like
You're like, oh,
and then a minute and a half into that trailer,
Michelle Yeoh's in this.
yeah, and then
Tina
his
Fey's in this.
fucking mustache just jump scares you. You go, "Wow."
I loved it. And actually, obviously we saw it because we were doing the pod, but I remember we had options of what to see that night. Like, I don't think we were seeking to see this movie specifically, like ahead of time. I feel like on that night we had like a couple things that we could see if we picked this movie. But like, I haven't seen the first two. Right. I was always open to seeing one of these, but I think the way they sort of genre spliced that trailer is what made me most intrigued for this movie. Because if it was another straight up mystery, and I do enjoy me some mystery, but if it was another straight up mystery, I think I would have just like maybe glazed past it and picked something else.
Yeah, and I think you need that in this. In this, you got to do something to keep it fresh,
Yep.
right? You can't just be like, here's another mystery. It's like,
Well, especially with Glass Onion and
yeah,
Knives Out, like those are just so stylized in what they are
hmm
that that's enough to keep it fresh. But anything else that takes place during normal Sherlock Holmesy times, you're like, all right, like
you got to do something
yeah,
to set yourself apart. Like with Knives Out and Glass Onion, like you have a lot of humor to it, which adds to that like differentiation. Like
yep,
it's not your typical like Sherlock Holmes story, right? Like you said. So like this one now, the last two were very straightforward.
hmm
I think the second movie does do a little bit to kind of give you some context behind Hercule and
mm.
like his past. They like reveal that he was like in World War II or
One.
World War I. And like how like he got all fucked up
Did he
and
get the shell shock?
yeah, something like that. He
Yeah.
got like he had a grenade blown up on his face, and that's why he has the silly mustache,
Oh,
which is I thought was hilarious, and that was the origin story for like
for a
the
mustache.
goofiest mustache in existence. So like the now then in this one that you don't have that character piece, I guess, then you have to do something else, and adding like a supernatural element to it,
hmm
I think is really good because the character is not that. Like he does not buy into supernatural shit. So
Yeah.
like you're kind of then having two mysteries, like
Fuck is going on?
what the fuck is going on,
And
and then what
who
is
be
the
killing?
yeah
Yeah.
who do be killing, right? So the victim in this movie or the murder that sets this whole thing off is the
Some girl.
yeah Miss Drake. Her daughter is quote unquote killed by ghosts of
Yep.
like this asylum. But anyway, yeah. So like the girl is killed, and now a year or so ish later, or a few years, I can't remember. Like they're having this seance to contact her. Um, and this is where you meet like everybody. I think overall, like the way everything is handled, I think is good.
Yeah.
Starting with the supernaturally stuff, and then figuring out like what is actually happening, who the killer is.
This
I think
is
that's good enough.
it's a nice lean movie.
Yeah,
Like I don't think this movie wastes a lot of time.
it's like a take 90-ish minutes.
Yeah. Um exposition is just the length it needs to be. Right. Our
Mhm.
inciting incident is just where it needs to be. This is a beautifully paced plot triangle.
Yeah.
And I'm all for the way that that was executed.
Very good, very good. I think if you're looking for some spooky stuff this spooky season, this is a good one. Like even if you don't go see it in theaters, I think this should be out soon-ish. So check it out.
I've heard some critics say that they were disappointed that it wasn't spooky enough. I don't think you could have gone too horror with this one.
No, you and I think it's unrealistic to expect it to be like
Yeah.
scarier because the world that this franchise has set up so far is grounded in reality.
Yes.
So like if you suddenly then go spooky,
Yeah.
like it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Otherwise, like if it wanted to make it scarier, it would literally just be jump scares because that's the only thing that would be scary, but that's not scary.
You also need something that like scratches the horror itch that isn't explicitly horror just because like you want people to be able to be exposed to that genre. Like here, I could picture a high school teacher showing this in class, like to teach suspense or like, maybe some, I don't know, it's not gothic, but like, you know what I mean? Like you could use this in like in front of a group of kids and it would be entertaining enough, but it wouldn't be like too scary where you're like, oh, like I can't show this to
I think
to
this is a
children.
good movie for like this is a good beginner horror to like maybe see if you're interested in this genre
Yeah.
without feeling like a leap too far. Like this isn't you introducing someone to like a Saw movie.
Yeah.
Like they can find that later through this, but like this just gets you in that genre,
Absolutely.
which is fine. I do think that the biggest misstep in the marketing for this is something that we discussed. Like Ryan Johnson hates the fact that they made him
Mm-hmm.
call Glass Onion
A Knives
a
Out
Knives Out
mystery.
mystery.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to build franchise and you want to get people to come see your fucking movies, like I'm sorry, I love you, Ryan Johnson, but like a
Yeah.
lot of people are not going to come in because of your name.
Right.
They're going to come in because they saw Knives Out and they liked it, and now they want to follow
It's
uh
yeah, follow
plot,
that
right?
series. I think it's very easy for critics of all stripes and shapes and sizes to like shit on studios for studio interference. Having said that, I feel like yes, ideally like the artist should be able to have control over the title. But like if the studio is going to interfere somewhere, like and it's just the title, like
Yeah, like
I don't give a fuck.
if that's like the thing
Yeah,
that the studio is interfering with, I think you've got it pretty good.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that aside, I think that would have made more people go, "Oh, this is related to the last two movies that I liked.
Right.
There's following this Hercule guy. Let's fucking go."
Let's fucking go.
Because again, like unless you watched the trailer,
Yeah,
this is not going to draw your eye if you just see the poster.
correct.
Because the poster just looks like a very stereotypical, like scary
Scary
house
poster.
movie.
Yep.
Um, so I do think that that could have been maybe handled a little bit better. But let's talk about the movie itself.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, like the opening act is them essentially going into this very creepy looking like orphanage. I believe it's what it was.
Yes.
Uh,
Run by nuns.
Run by nuns.
Yeah.
Either it is an orphanage or it used to be an orphanage, which is now like a house. They
No.
still host like a yearly Halloween thing. They have a local like urban legend
Yeah.
that the doctors there were like really really shitty
To the
to the
kids
kids
and the nurses.
and the nurses, and now like the ghosts of like the children like will hunt
Yeah.
basically the
Any
doctors
doctors or nurses in
right?
the area, right?
I think that's a very interesting like setup.
Yes.
It gets you thinking. You have a few people in the main group who are like doctors or nurses
Yep.
or in that field. So you go, oh, they're in danger.
And that too is like doctors and nurses are not typically cast as bad guys.
Yeah.
And nurses even less so than doctors. So then to like it adds a little bit of freshness because it's not like these kids hate bankers and like I'm here to shit on some bankers, don't get me wrong, but it's like this is a little different. It's a little different than what we've seen.
Yeah. I do think though that like for horror,
Yeah.
the doctor or nurse being like an asshole is kind of tropey,
Yeah.
but it's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
again, this is not your typical like horror movie, so I
Correct.
think it's good enough for that. The the inciting incident though happens when they're in the seance led by our medium who is Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
She comes in with two of the weirdest looking like assistants.
And they're Hungarian, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Which is funny because her name is Desmona Holland, and I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if they are from Holland and this is the name they came up
Desdemona.
with?
That's funny. That would be funny. It does not sound like a Hungarian name at all.
No. Ooh, one thing that I just remembered. So when they're talking about the urban legend,
Mhm.
they show the story of what happened with the kids using this weird like
Using
shadow
puppet. Yep.
puppets.
That is
And
a.
it's really cool.
Did they do that in Mexico back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, Greece did that a lot.
I mean,
The character was called Karagyoji. But like that's what the youths would use to entertain themselves, were those shadow puppets.
and I think I really like it because it reminds me a lot of Candyman does that. The 2018,
Oh,
no,
cool.
20 something.
So
They
Candyman
yeah,
uses
Candyman, the last prequel, I guess,
yeah.
showed the background of what happened in the original movie and what happened to the previous Candyman,
Hmm.
using that similar art style, and I think it's very creepy,
Yeah.
but it's also weirdly like it makes sense that like kids will do this.
And kids at that specific time did that.
Yes,
So it's also good historical fiction building.
hmm I think the one character in this movie that kind of I don't know if I just felt like it was weird was the kid,
Yeah.
right? Because we have Jamie Dornan who plays Dr. Leslie Ferrier,
Yeah.
and his son is this
Leopold.
boy named Leo, and he's weird.
He's so weird.
He's so weird, and I think it took me a little bit too long to realize that they were kind of playing him as this like future like Hercule type.
This savant. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the more he talked, I was like, oh, that's what this
Right.
boy's supposed to be. Because I think at one point he goes, oh, I don't want to watch this story because like it's
Right.
too immature. Basically, he's reading
He's reading
Edgar
Edgar Allan
Allan
Poe.
Poe.
Yeah.
So he's that type of kid who will probably grow up to do the same type of shit.
I feel like maybe his arc just wasn't as well paced as the other characters.
The
I
books.
I liked him. Like when he started being able to like come to the forefront.
Mhm.
Like it's been so long that I forget exactly, but like he's able to like I mean he's able to like either solve some mystery stuff or he's able to like notice things that the average person wouldn't be able to notice. Like you see, like you said, he's got them detective chops.
Yeah. So let's get this
Yeah.
out of the way.
Yeah.
The murderer
Right.
ends up being
The mother.
the mom, right? I believe the daughter's name was Alicia.
Yeah.
It was the mom who she was so attached to her daughter
Yeah.
that she couldn't bear to like leave her and have her go with her fiance. She was slowly not killing her, but like poisoning her enough that it would just make her perpetually sick.
Yes.
And then one day she lets the at-home nurse kind of take the housekeeper
Yeah.
take care of the daughter, and she is poisoning her with honey,
Honey.
like a specific type of honey, which I've heard about because of there's a show that I watch on YouTube where it's like a guy who does like food stuff all over the
Mhm.
world. He went to a tribe in some Asian country where they have these honeys.
That exact kind of
These are a very similar type where like the whatever the bees eat creates this weird toxic honey that gets you like either super high or like super drunk.
That's really cool.
And it's like you can take maybe a teaspoon and
Yeah.
it fucks you up.
Wow.
So when they were showing like the bees and all this stuff, and she goes, "So we found your
Yeah.
honey in the cupboard." I was like, well, "That doesn't make sense." So I think that's when I started to like, go, "Oh, this is the thing."
So you had clicked early that it was the honey.
Yes.
Ah, I see.
And then I was thinking, okay, so who was it? Was it the mom or was it the housekeeper?
Yeah.
So like those two were my
Top guesses.
top two guesses.
I think I forget when in the movie, but it gets to a point where maybe it's late enough, but it gets to the point where like all of the other characters have things happen to them or they have just like character development that like made me process of elimination out that it just had to be the mom. They do.
I mean, there's that one scene where she goes, "I have the only key."
Yeah.
And she just like shoves it in your face. And you go,
Like, all right.
I remember you going to me, "That's sus as fuck." And that's when I was like, all right, so this is 100% the mom. All right.
They do a nice bait and switch when they have them go up to the roof together, and like you get to hear the mom talk about the daughter. But because the mom never like you never get to see growth of complexity of her as a character, you're kind of like, all right, well then she's the baddie.
Yeah.
Which is a problem for some overly picky mystery fans. Some people want their shit to basically be like totally out of left field, I feel like.
I think this movie does a good enough job that like when you get the reveal, you go, "Oh, this makes sense."
Yes.
All the things are here, and sometimes people can put that shit together. Like I said, I happen to because I've watched that very very obscure fucking village who happens to have poisonous honey, right? So like that to me maybe helped me figure it out, but just because I figure it out does not mean that the mystery itself falls flat.
Correct.
And I feel like a lot of people go, well, if I figure it out, then it's not good.
Yes.
And you go, well, then what the fuck are you doing?
Well, these are also Republicans who hate, who hate The Last Jedi.
The funny thing is, we were talking in my last grad school class. They're like, "What do you do for hobbies?" And they go, "Oh, my friend and I, we watch movies and we review in the podcast."
Yeah.
And
spreading the word.
And some people go, "What's it on your podcast?" I'm like, "Ain't no fucking way. I'm telling you because I know you're a Trump supporter."
Oh, really?
I didn't say that, but I was like, "See."
Wait, this was a classmate?
Yeah.
People be taking education grad school classes and are still Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Ooh,
She did not believe.
The youth is in trouble.
Yeah.
The youth is in trouble.
The youth is in trouble
Yep.
indeed. But anyway, the mystery itself, I think, even if you figure it out, the rest of the movie is well enough shot, well enough acted.
Yep. Very well shot. Looks beautiful.
There are some shots in here.
Yeah.
There are like I could see that being like a photograph that you see like in someone's house, like
Yeah.
blown up.
Yeah.
There's a shot of like the main building, and it's like an upward shot, and it's like extremely centered. It looked so cool.
I love the shadow kill of Michelle Yeoh.
I think I felt that was a little goofy.
It is,
it
but
was
it's
very fun.
yeah.
It's a good shot. Just having the hand go through her,
Yeah, absolutely.
which I think it's weirdly gruesome.
It is.
But I think it's done in a way that's not like gratuitous.
It's as horror-y as this movie gets.
Yeah.
Because that's a fun creative kill.
That's also another clue that lets you know that the mom does it. And Hercule does point it out. He is very blatant about it.
Refresh my memory.
So they're all talking about like, where were you at midnight? And everybody's like, oh, I was here, or I was like here around this time, and the mom goes, so I was there exactly at midnight or something like that. And then he points out that when she falls, and you do see a quick shot of this, her watch shatters, and he talks to the doctor, and he's like calling him out and being basically like kind of shitty of a doctor. He goes, doctor who can't even get the time of death right.
Oh,
he goes, look at the watch. And
yeah,
like, they show a quick shot of the watch. So like that, again, another little clue.
Elementary schoolers who can't tell an analog clock would not be able to figure that one out.
Her fucking watch is digital. anyway. So yeah, the only thing, again, back to this kid. One of the things that threw me off about him a little bit, he talks about the ghosts in the building, as if they were actual people.
Yes,
but then everything else about him leads you to believe that he's super analytical and logical. So then, to me, I was like, does he buy into the story, or does he not buy into the story?
Well, at the end, we do see the ever slimmest glimpse of a potential ghosty, right? Like towards the end, don't we?
Kind of.
It's really short.
It's like when the mom falls.
When the mom falls, yeah. And I can't remember if the ghost like helps drag her down or what.
It's very ambiguous.
Yeah.
But I think even then, like the way this boy knows for a fact. So the main reason why the mom gets caught is because the boy figures out what happened originally. So he figures out that the mom was poisoning the daughter. He's blackmailing the mom on behalf of his dad, trying to get basically them out of here. And so then she has dad kill himself because she thinks it's him.
Yeah.
And then that's what leads Hercule to be like, 100% it's you.
Yeah.
Right? So that to me tells me that this boy is smart enough to know that anything that they say is happening is supernatural is not.
Well, I don't know if I agree. I think I'm trying to see, first of all, where the movie itself fits in that debate, right? Like Hercule Poirot is obviously very like.
Excuse me, what's his name?
Hercules Perlopolis.
Hercule Poirot
is obviously himself like very much in the reason only camp. I think the boy, even though like he's got the analytical brain, I don't think that he's totally like. I don't think that he's totally not open to the possibility of the supernatural. And if the movie itself maybe like hints that like, oh, this stuff could exist, like maybe, I mean, that's another trope where like the baby version of the hero like has the potential to then become a more complete version of the hero. And also because of how smart they play up this boy to be, I would also see it to be in character for him to, and I would have to go back and see the scenes, but I would also see it in character for him to talk about like the ghosties to other people to fuck with them.
Okay.
Um, so I don't know. I could see him. I could see him in a couple ways. I could see a rational explanation for why he would be like, I believe in ghosties, whether he means it or whether he does not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
No.
Um, where was I going with this? So with this movie basically wrapping itself, for one of the things that I do feel kind of bad about
Mm.
is they essentially make Tina Fey's character kind of a dick. I don't
I
know. I don't
don't
know
feel bad about it.
if I like that. Like, she seemed to be genuinely like excited to work with him,
Yeah.
and then the reveal that she's just being a dick and using him. I was like, man,
So it is only kind of a dick. I will. It doesn't seem like the relationship is totally tarnished by the end of the film.
dude, if that was me, I'd be like, dude, fuck you.
I'm not. I'm not disagreeing, but I think Hertzville,
Persephone.
not Persephone. What's that shit you put on your instead of rubbing alcohol in the brown? It comes in the brown bottle.
Oh,
Hertzville peroxide.
peroxide.
I think he's willing to still have Tina Fey in his life. Here's kind of why I like it though. Tina Fey fans are like kind of annoying
They are.
and like
See, people who fucking love 30 Rock. Love 30 Rock.
it is kind of in their energy to play like the role of like the person who's in touch with the common man but is not against like screwing you. Um,
Oh, Thanos.
I mean,
Thanos.
who else?
Sorry.
Who else is more qualified to talk about white feminism than you and I?
Hey, man.
But
You
but
said it.
but that's why because it was Tina Fey, and Tina Fey is one of my people, right? Yeah, she comes from the motherland, so like I still enjoy Tina Fey, but I was fine with it.
You know what? Good for her, by the way. In this movie, they do not do a damn thing to hide that goddamn scar that she's got in her face.
Yeah,
Good for her.
yeah,
The so that the way the movie wraps up, I do think is very nice. I like that Hercule kind of finds that drive again to help
yes,
people, because then that leads potential for future
for more.
movies, right? And so then that, unless you want to speak on anything specific that happens in the story,
I think I have a question. So do the first two movies have as much man versus self conflict with Hercule Poirot as there is in this one? Like, obviously, this is the only one that deals with the idea of his retirement, but like, are they like, is he as introspective or like, is he battling his own issues as much in the other two movies as he is in this one?
there is some
Yeah,
to that. I
yeah,
feel like that's more in Death on the Nile, a
yeah,
little bit more. Um, like I know there's a little bit more of that inner conflict and talks about like the woman that he was with before and all that
yeah,
stuff. So there is a little bit of that. I mean, they are all, I think, very competently well shot and written movies,
yeah.
and directed movies. So I think this is very, very much in the same vein as those two.
I ask because that'll be interesting to see where they take his character arc in subsequent movies when you've already done the retirement
Yeah.
trope. But I mean, the nice thing about these is I feel like they're anthologized enough where you really could just. I mean, I walked into it, I didn't feel
Yeah.
lost whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've
That
seen
is
I've
that
seen a
is
movie
good.
before.
And I think that what they could do is they could give him maybe an expansion. Now, in the last movie, he was very much almost like a "well, I'll never love again" type of person
Hmm,
because of something tragic that happened in his past. And while it doesn't necessarily say that in this sequel now he's looking for like a love interest, but like that could be something that they could do in the next one,
yeah,
and then have that be part of this whodunit. So this movie itself is not doing fantastic, and there's a couple of
reasons.
different reasons. Again, I I seriously do think it could be a marketing issue. Not that it was marketed as a scary movie, but the fact that there is really no connectivity title wise to like the past movies.
Right.
Um, and then also right now there's the you know WGA and the SAG
In
after
the
strikes,
SAGs.
where you
Hard
did
to
not
promote.
even you didn't have like the possibility to even like shoot any of the promotional stuff before.
Yeah.
Um, I believe Death on the Nile came out like a year ago,
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
and I mean that was because of COVID.
Right.
They delayed the shit out of that, and now this one came out so soon after. You would think it would be like, the iron's hot, let's fucking go. But I do think that not being able to have Tina Fey come out and do some funny shit,
To promo the movie.
yeah, to promo the movie. I mean, for example, like it's not all on her shoulders, right?
Yeah.
But like having some of these, Michelle Yeoh doing some promotion for this movie, she's huge right now because
Right.
of her recent Oscar win. Like it could have given this, I think, a little bit more of a push.
I think so. I think the other thing that is working against it, that's also probably not even the primary factor. I think the marketing is the primary factor, or the marketing and the strikes. I think those are the primary factor. But also just the fact that like, and I don't mean this as a knock at the movie, but it's not amazing. I think it's very, very good. I think it's a wonderful time, but it's not like Glass Onion where I have to be like, you fucking need to see Glass Onion,
Yeah.
right? Like the only like word of mouth that I feel like I would talk about with this movie would be like, I had a lovely time. I recommend it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be like creaming myself over it like I do
Yeah.
with other things.
And I do think that's reflected very well. Like usually when we talk about these types of movies, like you have like extremes in
Yep.
like the Rotten Tomato scores and like the ratings, like 78% Rotten Tomato scores, but also the audience is only 77. So like they're all very like average. And
Well,
that's fine. You don't have to be like amazing all the time, but it's also not gonna draw in people.
and this movie also doesn't really tap into the culture war
No.
at all. Like
Which again, it's not a bad thing.
no, it's not a bad thing. But it's like I mean, an angry white YouTuber doesn't really have much to say about like this movie.
No.
And, like a bread tuber, like doesn't really have much to
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last question that I have for you is kind of in line with what you asked earlier.
Mhm.
If they were to make a sequel, they already did straight whodunits.
Yep.
This one was a spooky whodunit. What would be a good genre mix?
Oh, I don't know. Hmm. My gut is telling me mystery plus comedy. And that just might be because we're about to review a comedy next.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't think I've ever seen one.
But then that's Glass Onion.
If I wouldn't call it a comedy. I'd say it has funny moments. I wouldn't call it a comedy. I mean,
I would call it
I,
shit a comedy. When
I
somebody goes, this is Jared Leto's kombucha. That's pretty fucking funny.
But maybe more like comedy in the classical sense of the word, when you really like lean into the happy ending and like people coming together. Oh, that's a good question. Give me another one. Give me yours, and then I'll think of another one.
That's the thing. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, these movies have never had like huge action.
Yeah.
Maybe some action could be like a good mix of like action with a whodunit could be fun. Or like I was kind of saying, if in the next movie maybe you want to do something new with him, maybe give him a love interest and make like almost like a rom-com.
I was gonna say romance, like maybe an actual romance for and I haven't seen the other one, so I don't know how much they lean into it, but like
Not like at all.
a romance would be fun.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it needs. Like if they do want to make sequels, cool, but they
Yep.
need to do something else
To play with the
You
genre.
can't just do a straight up whodunit anymore.
I think that would also feel backwards in comparison to this movie. But I think the other thing that this like, I mean, this genre really, or not this genre, this series really does have the luxury and opportunity where it could just be like a solid B student,
Yeah.
right? Like you're not walking in with like the highest of high expectations, but you enjoy what you see each time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, that in today's climate for movie going. Like that, unfortunately, does not draw big audiences
Correct.
because of the fact that like right now, COVID's whether we like to like joke around or not, like
Yeah.
a lot of people got used to not going to theaters because
Yep.
of COVID.
Yep.
So like getting people to go takes something
Yeah,
special,
unfortunately.
right?
Yeah.
So unless they can really tamper them budgets down,
Can I also really just quickly just like this is not anything to do with the movie. I just fucking shit on the people who are like, I can't go to the movie theater. It's too expensive. Like, okay, ticket price fine, but like, and then you buy the popcorn and the drink. I'm like,
yeah, dude. I'm
Anyway,
sorry, you did not.
rant.
You did not need to.
Rant over. Rant
Yeah.
over.
So like, dude, fucking movie pass is so cheap. This is $22 a month. Each movie ticket's like $15.
Are
You
we
go
also
once.
the only city in the U.S. with a cheap ass Cinemark? Like everyone was like, my theater charges like $1,000. I'm like, it's fucking $625 over here.
Tuesday nights, and almost every theater is like $5 night.
Yeah.
There's no excuse.
Get your asses to the theater.
People cannot be bored.
Nope.
It's their fault.
We don't respect bored people on this podcast.
You know why? Because we go out and watch cinema.
Yes.
And we discuss
Films.
cinema.
Yes, we do.
Anyway, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. This was an appropriately short episode.
Yeah, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Not too bad. If you like it, please like it and share with your friends.
Yes.
We will be back to talk about Bottoms.
Oh, I'm so happy.
It is another high peak cinema.
High peak.
High peak.
Everyone has liked both of these movies.
People like it.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, he has been Thano.
He has been Javier.
And this has been the Cine-Scoots podcast.
Bye.